Unyielding Heir Chapter 7. The Boardroom Reckoning. The helicopter's rotors thumped steadily as they descended toward the Voss Tower. London's financial heart pulsing below in a maze of glass towers and shadowed streets. Elena stared out the window, the city lights blurring into streaks of gold and silver against the darkening sky. Her hand rested on Alexander's thigh, a small, grounding touch amid the gathering storm. He hadn't spoken much during the flight. His jaw was set, eyes forward, every line of his body radiating the calm lethality of a man who had faced boardroom wars before and always emerged victorious. But Elena knew him better now. Beneath the control lay a flicker of something new, protectiveness sharpened by vulnerability. Marcus, seated across from them, scrolled through emails on his tablet. The agenda was sent 20 minutes ago. They're calling it an extraordinary review of strategic direction. Victoria pushed hard for it. Alexander's response was clipped. She's been laying groundwork for months. Today, she makes her move. Lena squeezed his leg gently. We're ready. He turned to her, eyes softening for a heartbeat. You don't have to do this. I can handle them alone. I know you can, she said. But I'm not letting you face this without me. Not anymore. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. Stubborn, determined. The helicopter settled onto the rooftop pad with a gentle thud. Alexander stepped out first, offering his hand, as always. This time, when she took it, he didn't release her until they reached the private elevator. Inside the mirrored car, he pulled her close, back to his chest, arms wrapping around her waist. Whatever happens in there, he murmured against her ear. Remember one thing. She tilted her head back to meet his gaze in the reflection. What? You're mine. Not their opinion. Not their politics. Mine. The words sent warmth through her veins. And you're mine. The elevator doors opened onto the executive floor. Assistants froze mid-step as Alexander strode through, Elena at his side. Not trailing behind. Not hidden. Heads turned. Phones were lowered. Whispers followed like shadows. The boardroom doors stood open. Inside, the long obsidian table gleamed under recessed lighting. 12 directors waited, a mix of old guard loyalists, ambitious climbers, and cautious neutrals. Victoria Lang occupied the seat to the right of the head chair. Posture, impeccable. Expression, a mask of professional concern. Charles Beaumont sat opposite her, fingers drumming nervously. Reginald Hargrove, the elder statesman, watched from the far end with weary eyes. Alexander entered without pause, Elena beside him. He took his place at the head. She remained standing, a deliberate choice. No seat had been prepared for her. She didn't need one. Good evening, Alexander began, voice carrying the quiet authority that had built empires. I assume this meeting has a purpose beyond wasting my time. Victoria spoke first, tone measured. We appreciate you joining us so quickly. Mr. Voss, recent developments have raised serious concerns among the board regarding the proposed restructuring and the involvement of external consultants. Charles cleared his throat. Specifically, Miss Harper's recommendations appear unusually aggressive, combined with reports of a personal relationship. We must question whether the advice is objective. Lena felt the room's attention shift to her like a spotlight. She met every gaze unflinchingly. Alexander leaned back in his chair. Objective. The numbers are objective. The plateau in growth is objective. The redundancies, draining capital, are objective. Miss Harper has presented facts. If anyone finds them uncomfortable, that's not her failing. Victoria's smile was thin. Facts are one thing. Influence is another. The press is already circling rumors of favoritism, compromised decision-making. If we proceed and the plan falters, the liability falls on the entire board. Reginald Hargrove spoke slowly. We've built this company on stability, Alexander. Your father understood that. Change must be measured. My father built this company on vision, Alexander countered. He died believing it would endure. It's barely limping. You call that stability? Silence fell, heavy and uncomfortable. Elena stepped forward. May I? Alexander nodded once. She addressed the table directly. I've spent the last weeks examining every major decision since 2015. The stagnation began the year the Voss Foundation was shuttered. Project that represented genuine innovation and social impact. You voted it down because of short-term risk. That decision cost more than money. It cost momentum. Charles shifted. The foundation was mismanaged by external partners. We couldn't risk the reputation. You could have fixed it, Elena said calmly. Instead, you chose retreat. Retreat becomes habit. Habit becomes decline. Victoria leaned forward. And your solution is to dismantle departments built over decades. Cut loyal employees. That's not strategy. That's destruction. Surgery, Elena replied. Painful, precise, necessary. The alternative is slow bleeding until there's nothing left. Victoria's eyes narrowed. You speak with such certainty, but you don't carry the responsibility. You're a hired voice, one that seems to have grown far too close to the principal. Alexander's hand found Elena's under the table edge, a brief, fierce squeeze. Then he stood. Let me make this crystal clear, he said, voice dropping to that low, dangerous register that silenced rooms. Elena Harper is not merely a consultant. She is the sharpest strategic mind I have encountered in 15 years of leadership. Her recommendations are not influenced by personal ties. They are validated by them, because she sees me, the man, the leader, the flaws, and still believes in the future of this company more than most of you ever have. He swept his gaze across the table. I have tolerated complacency for too long. No more. The restructuring begins next quarter. Phase 1 is approved today. Objections will be noted in the minutes and acted upon accordingly. Victoria's composure cracked. You're threatening the board? I'm reminding the board who built this company, Alexander said. And who will save it? Reginald raised a hand. A vote, then, on approving Phase 1 under Miss Harper's oversight. Hands rose slowly. Elena watched the tally in real time. 8 in favor, 4 against. Victoria's hand remained down, face pale. Motion carries, Reginald said quietly. Meeting adjourned. The room emptied in near silence. Victoria rose last, pausing beside Alexander. This isn't finished, she whispered. You think you can discard loyalty like yesterday's report? Alexander met her eyes. Loyalty that turns to sabotage isn't loyalty, Victoria. It's poison. Your resignation will be on my desk by Friday. Voluntary is preferable. She stared at him, stunned, then walked out without another word. When the doors closed, only Alexander, Elena, and Marcus remained. Marcus exhaled heavily. That was theatrical. Alexander turned to Elena, pulling her into his arms without hesitation. He kissed her temple, then her mouth deep, claiming, right there in the boardroom that had just witnessed his declaration, you were extraordinary. He murmured against her lips. We were, she corrected, smiling into the kiss. They flew back to Blackwood, under stars, now visible through thinning clouds. In the Manor's master suite, they shed suits and tension alike. Alexander drew her a bath, joining her in the massive tub, water steaming around them. He washed her hair with careful hands, a reversal of power that felt more intimate than any possession. She leaned back against his chest, letting the warmth seep into her bones. You fired her, Elena said softly. She threatened you, he replied. Indirectly, directly. It doesn't matter. No one touches what's mine. She turned in the water to face him. And if the board fractures further, if the press digs, let them dig, he said. Let them see. I'm done hiding. We're done hiding. She traced the line of his collarbone. What happens next? Implementation begins Monday. We'll face resistance, internal, external, but we'll face it together. His hand slid to her waist, pulling her closer. And when the dust settles, I want more than partnership in the company. Her heart stuttered. More. He lifted her hand, pressing a kiss to her knuckles. I want forever, Elena. Marriage, children, a legacy that includes you in every way. Not as my consultant, not as my lover, as my wife. Tears welled, unexpected and hot. Alexander, I'm not proposing tonight, he said, voice rough. Not here, not after battle. But no, it's coming. When the time is right. When you're certain. She cupped his face. I'm certain now. Key kissed her, then, slow, reverent, consuming. They moved from bath to bed. Bold as speaking, what words couldn't. Every touch carried promise. Every whisper carried vow. Later, tangled in sheets, Elena rested her head on his chest, listening to his heartbeat. We're going to change everything, she murmured. He stroked her hair. We already have. Outside, the night was quiet. Inside, two empires, one corporate, one personal, had begun their true merger. The road ahead would be brutal. Competitors would strike. Media would probe. Old loyalties would fracture. But Elena Harper and Alexander Voss stood ready, unyielding, united, unbreakable, because some loves weren't born in peace. They were forged in fire, and theirs burned brighter than any boardroom war.